Meanwhile, the Biden campaign is getting an early start on fact-checking former President Trump ahead of tonight's debate. According to a memo shared with NBC News, the campaign has set up a rapid response strategy and has already outlined the lies, misstatements, and exaggerations it believes Trump is most likely to say on the debate stage tonight. Biden's campaign is focusing on 7 key topic areas they expect to come up during the debate, which include abortion, crime, the economy, immigration, entitlements such as Social Security and Medicare, foreign policy, and Trump's false claims that he won the 2020 election. The president's allies also plan to send out fact checks during the debate through emails and on social media. So let's turn again to Sam Stein. And Sam, you've proven to be an expert on incoming French NBA players, but let's do some politics now. Sure. This is the Biden campaign is, has been very frustrated at times, trying to break through the noise, to break through a fractured media environment and actually get their message out. You said it earlier in the show, and I think it's exactly right. It's all about contrasts. Talk to us about the opportunity here and whether this fact-checking effort makes sense for what the Biden team wants to do.
It's tough, right? Like we wrote about this at Politico, but fact-checking Trump is very difficult, if not impossible. The man lies a lot, and he meanders, and multiple moderators and interviewers have tried to do it in real time. Some have done it successfully and some have not. But that's part of Trump's strategy. He just bulldozes. And so the question confronting the Biden people is, okay, well, to what degree do we use our time on the debate stage and the time outside of the debate stage where we're trying to spin what happened on the debate stage to fact check? There was some frustration within the Biden camp that CNN had said that the job of the moderators were not to necessarily do real-time fact-checking. But, that raises the question of what responsibility the Biden operation itself has to do it for them. And I think I don't have the correct answer here. I think they want to create a contrast. Is the best way to do it by saying, no, that's a lie, or no, you're misleading? I don't know. I will note there's a historical precedent to think about here and how they're approaching debate prep. 2012, Obama, first debate against Romney. He comes out probably a little bit overconfident. But what the Obama camp did not anticipate was that Romney was going to basically adopt widely different policy prescriptions than what they had been running on to that point, and basically, move away from the attacks that Obama had lodged on him. Obama was not ready to do real-time pushback in that sense. I do wonder if the people who did prep for that 2012 debate, who are involved in this 2024 debate, look back at the experience and are preparing for something similar to happen tonight.
You're also right. It's a truism that incumbents tend to be rusty and maybe don't perform well at the first debate because they haven't been challenged in so long. But that applies to Trump, too, who skipped all the Republican primary debates and doesn't exactly sit for contentious interviews. Sam, let's talk about Trump. We mentioned earlier in the show he's teasing that his VP, whoever that might be, will be here tonight in Atlanta. And there had been some suggestion that he was going to announce his pick just before the Republican convention in Milwaukee in a few weeks. Now that timetable might be moving up. You give it just quick for the viewers here. Lay out the candidates and also what is Trump looking for in a VP? And frankly, does it even matter?
Well, first and foremost, Trump bringing the VP tonight would be kind of weird, unless he is nervous about having a bad night, right? You use that VP to win a news cycle, to gain some momentum, to change the script. And so if he has a bad night, I would expect some announcement pretty soon. But to debut it right before the debate would be to step on the announcement. It wouldn't make any sense. Doesn't mean he won't do it. He has a well-known history of bringing surprise guests to debates. So, that's something to consider. In terms of the candidates, the main ones that we know of are Doug Burgum, Marco Rubio, J.D. Vance, right? Obviously, there's others, and it's possible he goes outside that. But, in each case, it's either a senator or governor, someone who ostensibly could round out the ticket in certain ways. But I'm with you. I think I'm with you because it was implicit in your question. I don't know how much it actually matters here, right? Like Marco Rubio is not going to win you Florida. I don't think really care about North Dakota all that much. Don't really think you care about Ohio all that much. I think J.D. Vance is an interesting one if you want to appeal to some sort of economic populist messaging. It's kind of a new type of foreign policy that's very Trump-focused, which is not a lot of international engagement, and in fact, outright skepticism of international engagement. Marco Rubio wouldn't really fit in that category, but he's contorting himself already. And then Doug Burgum is just sort of, he's a Doug. He's a bland white governor, business guy, really wouldn't upstage Trump. I think that's basically the idea is you don't upstage Trump, but he would give you the veneer of normalcy, which I suppose is something that the Trump people do want to project. I think we'll get some clues about where Trump's head's at tonight at the debate, but I really would be surprised if we actually get the announcement tonight before the debate.
Some trenchant political analysis there. He's a Doug.
He's a Doug.
Sam Stein, thank you so much for helping us out this morning. And
Sure.
we'll talk to you again just a little bit later on Morning Joe.
Hey there, MSNBC fans. I'm Luke Russert, and be sure to join me, Rachel Maddow, Jen Psaki, Lawrence O'Donnell, Steve Kornacki, Joy Reid, and many more September 7th in Brooklyn, MSNBC Live Democracy 2024. Click on the link for ticket information. We will see you there.